Hey everyone, this is Jeff at Dirt Wheels. Here's a machine we've been wanting to see in the US for quite some time now. This is the KAYO STORM 300, and for riders who have been missing the days of machines like the Honda TRX 300EX and Yamaha Raptor 250, this thing fills that gap that's been open for over a decade. Now, we tested the European version of this ATV last year during a works race at Glen Helen and came away impressed, but we also gave KAYO a list of changes we felt it needed before launching it here in the United States. To their credit, they listened. The biggest change is out back, where the rear axle has been widened to better match the 48-inch wide front end. They also moved the radiator coolant reservoir up and behind the radiator to get it out of harm's way. And they ditched the small hoop style front bumper in favor of a wider cross-country style bumper that flat out looks better on this machine. Powering the Storm is a 292.4cc liquid-cooled 4-stroke with a dual overhead cam 4-valve top end, and it's backed by a manual 5-speed transmission with reverse. B&R Motorsports recently put one of these on the dyno and reported 25 horsepower at the rear wheels, which is a big reason this machine feels like it punches well above what many riders might expect from a 300cc class sport ATV. In fact, that kind of output puts it much closer in spirit to a TRX 400EX than an old TRX 300EX. It also comes with a larger 530 chain and sprockets. Even so, our chain stretched quickly despite being larger than a typical 520 setup. One of our first mods would be swapping to an aftermarket 520 chain and sprockets, which would trim a little rotating weight and slightly sharpen acceleration. The airbox lid is not the easiest thing to access unless the rear fenders come off first, but there's a foam filter under there, and there's plenty more power to be had by removing the lid altogether. We were also told Fuel Customs is already working on a better breathing airbox for the Storm 300. The exhaust is fairly loud and feels pleasantly restricted, which definitely adds to the sport feel. And one of the biggest surprises of all is that this machine is CARB certified. That means California Air Resources Board. So it can be sold in California too. That honestly surprised us. Rolling stock is another strong point. The Storm comes with CST ambush tires with 21-inch fronts and 20-inch rears mounted on steel wheels. Up front, you've got dual A-arms, and the shocks offer adjustability beyond what you might expect in this price range. You can tune compression, rebound, and threaded preload, and there are also 2 lower front shock mount positions that let you adjust ride height. Up top, you get fat, thicker style handlebars and straightforward sport quad controls, including electric start, a manual clutch, and front brake control right where you want them. The thumb throttle is mostly plastic, but it uses a long lever with excellent leverage and very light thumb tension, so it feels easy to modulate. And just as we reported last year, shifting this transmission is ultra smooth, not notchy at all, and one of the nicest surprises on this machine. Reverse is built in without any extra lever or button to deal with. There's a detent in the transmission that prevents you from selecting reverse while moving. So all you do is come to a complete stop and shift all the way down past neutral. A longer shifter comes with the ATV, but we found the stock installed shifter works just fine up to a size 11 motocross boot, and you can adjust height if needed. At the end of the day, this is exactly the kind of machine we've been asking for. A compact sport ATV with a manual transmission, rear suspension adjustability, reverse, liquid cooling, and enough engine performance to make it exciting. So that wraps up our walk around of the KAYO Storm 300. Now it's time to throw a leg over it and see how all of that translates once the riding starts. sport ATVs that are in that affordable range. I think this thing is $4,500, $46, somewhere in there. Yeah, $4,500 for a machine. It's a 300cc liquid cooled EFI. It's got some great sound, as you heard in the video earlier. Anyway, Greg and I got to ride it today, and I'm going to start off with Greg. Greg, what were some of your impressions? Let's start with the motor, and then you can move on to suspension and handling.
I tell you, the motor, such easy shifting on the motor, very put together very well. Sounds great. All the controls on it, easy to get to. Shifts, I just can't believe how easy it shifts.
Yeah, I can't get over the shifting either. And when I first rode it, it's very Japanese feeling to me. It's a very quick click. It's so smooth, not notchy at all. Yeah, what'd you think about suspension, like when you were hitting jumps and even going into corners? How did it handle for you?
I think even for somebody my size, I think it handled really good. I think it's going to handle great for, 14-year-old, 16-year-old kid. It's a great bike for him.
Yeah, because you're kind of in that range. You weigh, what, about 160 pounds?
Yeah, 160. I'm 5'7".
Yeah, that's kind of your typical football-playing teenager going to high school, whatever. Right. I'm 6 foot, 230, and I had a ball on this thing today. I think we would have a great time if we got a couple of these out to Klamath. We're not going to win a competition up to the top of the hill, but as overall doing and even getting into the big dunes,
yeah,
this thing, you could have a good time on it.
Oh, I agree 100%.
Brought up some things about cornering, that you would make some adjustments to it probably.
Yeah, I think we could work on the cornering, probably the toe in or toe out on it, depending on what you like.
The good news is that stuff is adjustable.
Yeah,
on this machine.
There's a lot of adjustment on it.
Yeah, you've got a adjustable Hines on the upper A arm. Of course, you can adjust your tie rods to adjust your toe in, toe out.
I like the shock adjustment.
Yeah,
now you can adjust the front height on that.
Yeah, it's got threaded preload. You've also got the compression and rebound adjustment. There's also in the lower A arm. There's 2 shock locations where you can change that. I think we had it in the lower setting today, which I think is great for. This is kind of a motocross track, but it's really more of a short course style track, a little higher speed, so you want to be a little lower to the ground going through the corners and stuff. But yeah, you can adjust that too. Rear shock is also adjustable.
I hit those jumps pretty good, and I'm surprised at how well it landed.
Yeah, it does really well. How about the tires?
I'm surprised how soft they are. On this track, how slick it is, those tires hooked up really good.
What else you think? Anything else you can think of?
Just the fit and feel of it. Sitting on it, very comfortable.
Yeah.
I mean, right away, just between the handlebars, the seat, and the foot pegs where everything was located, comfortable right away. Felt natural.
Yeah, I got to say the same thing. And I'm 6 foot, well over 200 pounds, and it suited me just fine. I was comfortable. Stayed out. I didn't really want to bring it in. It's easy to ride.
Oh yeah.
I think I agree with everything you just said. The one thing that I would add to that is the engine. When you get into you come into a corner and you're a little low in the RPM range and stuff, rather than having to shift, I would hit the throttle real hard, and it seemed to actually come back on pretty good without having to shift down. That's a great thing for newer riders, novice riders. It's not going to wear them down constantly shifting around. But it's also at the same time, it's not really a problem even if you did, because this thing shifts so good, like we've said before. Yeah. I noticed that when I first ran it at Glen Helen. But the wider rear axle makes a huge difference.
Very stable.
Yeah.
With the wide stance front and rear.
Would you want to have one of these in your garage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy to ride. I mean, I can't believe it's fuel injected.
Yeah. That's probably why that power
starts up
comes
so fast.
Every time,
even in gear. When I tried,
I
left it in gear. Sometimes you got to shift stuff around to get it in neutral, but it fired right up.
Yeah.
In gear, just pull the clutch in, boom.
What's really exciting is there's a bunch of aftermarket companies right now that have these in their shop. They're developing aftermarket parts for them. They're really looking at that youth racer and stuff. That replacement for the long gone Yamaha Raptor 250. If it's not there, it's very close. And
I agree.
Yeah,
a lot of potential with this.
But definitely more power from the engine.
Yeah.
And like KAYO told us, this is a 14 and up machine too.
Yeah.
So that you're right in that schoolboy class cross country machine. It'll work good for motocross, that entry level rider, or even just a recreational rider that wants to get their first sport quad. Man, what a great place to start.
I agree with the price and the handling. All in all, stable, comfortable. The motor sounds so tight.
Yeah.
It's really a good bike, I think, for the price.
Anything else you can think to add?
And it looks good too.
I just got to keep my wife off of it, or I'm going to end up spending some money. I think she would really enjoy that.
I could see it.
And I kind of hope she does, because if I ever have any issues with my other quad while I'm out at the dunes, I can just hop on hers. And
you could take that anywhere.
Yeah. All right, so hey, we're out here at Twisted Lizard Speedway, the Dirt Wheels Doghouse. This is our top secret, not really, one of our favorite testing grounds for sport machines like this. I had a great time today. I'm going to be preparing a full-blown review of I think it's going to be the July issue of Dirt Wheels magazine. Look for that. We'll get into more details about the engine. But I had a lot of fun today. I like this machine. And we will see you out at the track.